Sure, you have academic freedom. Sure, I can stand up and say Holocaust never happened. 10 million Jewish people were never murdered and burned to ashes by the Nazis. But see, that's my right as an individual. But see, I'm not a professor at a publicly funded university, and I am responsible to my peers for what I do, what I say. And by my peers, as a professor, I'm talking about the faculty senate. These are the people that are supposed to be keeping the reins on these folks that are running around saying stupid things. Another thing too is that I happen to know that there's been a reporter from the Sacramento News and Review that's very, very, very interested in following up on the article about this incident that was printed at first by the Sacramento Bee. And I myself and a few other people have told this guy, sure, we're Native people, we'll tell you what's going on. Another thing also, I don't want to take up too much people's time, but I do want to know, I do want people, especially the young people here, to know and understand that there is an incredible amount of experience here, concentrated here, right now, within us. We have mecha, we have community organizations, we have traditional people, we have spiritual people, we have professors in other campuses keeping really close track on this. National news media. So I'm saying that this makes the power structure on this campus really nervous, really nervous. See, and so this is why, to this second, the professor that made this statement, ignorant statement, and the president of this university are not making any public statements at all. They says, give us a call over the phone, and we'll play telephone tag forever, or I'll deny anything that I say that I told you. That is BS, brothers and sisters. I've fought myself, many issues, 30 years working, and I'm here to offer that experience, which I'm doing by way of my words right now, sharing this. We are much stronger than this issue, and I think it's beautiful that we have young people right here and here, that are traditional, that don't mind standing up and speaking out and saying, go ahead and come at me, because I'm strong. I can handle you.
Oh.
Come up here.
Wherever you want to be.
Hello, I'm Chitaanibah. Hello, everybody, every single person in here. I appreciate y'all coming out. Respect to the elders. Thank you for coming out. I very much appreciate that. And the issues that we want to address, like it's been voiced by some people before this, the word genocide and the truth behind it, and the truth that we're standing on, the truth that this university sits upon. There's blood on the grounds that we're walking on. Everywhere you go in the United States, that's land that has been paid for with the price of indigenous lives. One more thing. Junipero Serra was canonized this week. And if you don't know about him, I suggest you look into that. It's a very painful history. I am a California native. I'm Keoseyama Kukawi Maidu. And I'm a very direct descendant of this genocide. On my mother's side, I'm Navajo and Diné. My mother herself, she was in a boarding school. And if you don't know about what boarding schools are, that's another. If you want to write those down with these cards, boarding schools, Junipero Serra, mission system, things like that. We've gone a while into this discussion talking about what we want to change and how we want to change, and that we're going to do this, and that's what we need to do. But you can't do that if you don't know what you're aiming at changing. So I'm going to give us a little meat to chew on, I'm supposed to say. This is a story. It's kind of long, but this is it tells you about what happened. What realities people face. And this is one story. And just in your head, remember that When Columbus first came, in North America, there were 12 to 15 million indigenous people living across the continent. And by the end of the century, there were less than 250,000 people alive, period, of any tribe, any age. So this is a story, this is in the 50s and the 60s. A newspaper reached New York City, which reported, "We have been informed through the papers of the murderous outrages committed on the original inhabitants of California by men with white skins. We regret to say there is no exaggeration in these accounts. In the Atlantic and Western states, the Indians have suffered wrongs and cruelties at the hand of the stronger race. But history has no parallel to the recent atrocities perpetuated in California. Even the record of Spanish butcheries in Mexico and Peru has nothing so diabolical." The primary targets were the hill tribes called diggers by the white pioneers, who occasionally fought back or stole livestock for food. The valley tribes were already pacified, working largely on white ranches and farms as domestic servants or field hands. In Shasta County, settlers collected funds to pay bounties for Indian scalps. It was $5 for an Indian head. What was the other one? Yeah. You got paid more for men heads, and then you got paid less for the women, and then less for the children. But this was a government sponsored act of genocide. The average working farmer received something like 10 pounds of silver, something like that, in their week. But the Indian children heads were going for that much, so it was enticing, and you had people who were professionals at scalping Indian people. In Marysville, if you all know where that is, the newspaper observed that the diggers can be saved from forcible extermination only by intervention of Uncle Sam. There should be troops enough employed at each reservation to keep them corralled. Thus, the hill tribes were so hunted like game that they came to the U.S. military for protection. A captain in the 2nd Infantry reported the tribes are kept in constant fear on account of the indiscriminate and inhumane massacre of their people in many places for real or supposed injuries. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. One of the most dramatic genocidal events took place in the last 2 weeks of August 1864 on the farms and ranches between Sacramento and Redding. Responding to the murder of 2 white women, white ranchers formed a vigilante group called the Guards. They met at Pence Ranch near Oroville and planned to kill every member of the northern and central Yana tribes, including women and children. One member explained, "We must kill them, big and little. Nits will be lice." In a scene reminiscent of modern accounts from Rwanda, they went door to door, farm to farm, ranch to ranch. They knew exactly who was working for them. On Little Cow Creek, they shot down 3 Yana men working in a barn against the protestations of the rancher's wife. Outside of Redding, they tore a little girl from the arms of her white employer and slaughtered her in the yard. At a ranch house north of Millville, they were looking for a young maid whom they knew. "Eliza, come out. We are going to kill you." The girl replied, "Don't kill me. When you were here, I cooked for you. I washed for you. I was kind to you. I never asked pay of you. Don't kill me now." But they pulled her out of the house with her aunt and uncle and pumped them full of bullets. A farm-to-farm search in Cottonwood yielded 20 more. The largest haul came at Oak Run, where 300 Yana had gathered to celebrate the harvest, and no one survived. The death squads killed nearly all of the 2,000 remaining Yana people. The nearby Yahi went into hiding in a canyon, and their later sole survivor would be Ishi. Some of his belongings reside in the California Indian Museum about a mile from Sac State campus. I don't know about you, but I've never heard about anything like that in a history book. That's what we're here to talk about. This is one people in one part of California. You think about all the people that were scattered all across North America who were systematically in this way hunted down by the United States government. Kids, babies, pregnant women, people who were peaceful, people who had welcomed these people, very systematically, genocidally exterminated. here on this ground where you're standing. And that professor said, it's too strong a word. It implies that it was on purpose. They were killed by mostly European diseases. And that is a fallacy that has been overlooked and has been perpetuated and is covered up. People don't want to talk about this kind of thing because it's so ugly and it's so big. If you stack how does that feel for you to know that this is what the country's founded on, and this is what they don't want you to know? It's for this, because if you knew, what would happen? And I haven't heard anything from the professor. I know he's still teaching. And I know that a lot of people said what happened in there was my fault because I was disruptive. And people focus on she wasn't kicked out of class. I didn't know he couldn't do that. All I knew was what he told me. But the issue is not those are things that we can talk about, yes. But the issue here is about Native people. This is Native American Day. We get 1 day. We get an hour and 45 minutes to talk about 500 years of decimation. We have elders here who've seen it more than I have. And we have so many people here who would not know and maybe wouldn't even care. So this what I just read, that's what we're here for. And there are accounts like it. Down there's a California Indian Museum. I don't know if any of you have ever been there or even heard about it. Mm-hmm. Just something to think about.
PhDs and right, but overwhelmingly we see a hegemonic mindset here in universities. So as someone in administration, I want you to recognize that students need people like, that have our similar experiences to teach us. Because look at what just happened. Mm-hmm. Look at what's going on. And this is making me angry, and we have the right to be angry. So if you're mad, be mad. Mm-hmm. We're here talking about this, but at the same time, we're here, we pay into this institution. We don't have ways and mechanisms to get into PhD. Most of us are from working backgrounds, and when you're trying to talk to someone about struggle who necessarily doesn't come from that background, the fault is on you. It's on us. We're not working hard enough. And we're not reading enough. When you got 2 jobs and you're coming to school, you're supporting your family back home, how can someone from upper middle class background understand that? Even if they're empathetic, you're able to say, I feel you, but you're not living it. So how can you necessarily guide me into a place where I can sit down with faces like myself and help them achieve their goals? We're here, we pay into it, we get into debt for it. Some of us join the military and are willing to die to come to school or kill. And we're here getting this watered down history of what's not really happening. And so to go back on the Native perspective, we see how it's not only affecting future generations, but this generation right here and generations that have come. And it's directly affecting a woman of color. You have a white male professor telling her that she's wrong and her history doesn't matter and it doesn't exist. And for her to stand up and be strong and say, it does. Not only the trauma that our history brings, but the trauma that we're facing every single day when we come to class. Even to go in and say, oh, you can go back to that class. You didn't get kicked out. The death threats that people get faced and have to go back and sit down in that uncomfortable space and have that conversation and try to read and try to write and try to excel. And that's all we're here for. So how is this impacting the natural world, our environment, our Mother Earth? Lies hurt. And they hurt you to your soul. How can someone move forward in trying to make a better place when that place that they're trying to receive this knowledge is just feeding them a whole bunch of BS? And we're here putting in the time, we're putting in the work. I'm here not eating my lunch because we're involved in these situations. These are our lives. This is not the chapters that don't exist in a book. You know, we're people. We have histories, and they're not being written about, and they're not being respected. And how the gentleman made, like, if just put this in your head, if this were to be framed as a Jewish student saying that that what happened to the Jews were genocide, like, do you think that would be something different? Do you think there would be a different conversation? Or is it just because it's people of color that we're being swept under the rug again in our own nation, in our own land? You know? So this issue, how is it disrupting peace, balance, harmony of our nations and all of our relations? Well, for since colonization, we have not only been seen as animals, but not as people. Not only not as people, but as animals. And this goes across the Americas. So, like, there's already an imbalance. You know, there's already multiple intersections of oppression that we face, and to come in to an institution that is supposed to be helping us and face it again just reaffirms my anger, and I think reaffirms a lot of our anger. So, to go off of what the brother Edgar says, we do need to organize, and we do need to have these conversations again with the administration, because it's on you all to change this. Are you all going to allow the falsifying of knowledge in classrooms? How long has this professor been able to tell students in a general education class that their history is not their history? And how has that affected them? How many generations has he been able to affect? How big is your class, sister?
Here-ish. He was sitting like over in this area. And I said, we were going back and forth, and the student turned around and he said to me, "That's not what he said. He said it was an accident." Oops, I killed you. Oh no. My bad. What? That incident. And he believed it, man. He was telling me, "Hey, stop being so angry. It was an accident. Shut up." And then there were people over here. I wasn't looking at them, and they wouldn't step to me. But I heard, "This crazy bitch, this dumb bitch, this bitch wants attention." This is why people don't speak up. Me, I'm stubborn, and I'm outspoken. But there are so many Native people, like, who have parents who come directly from boarding school. And those boarding schools are meant to silence people who will resist. It's meant to make you as compliant, as head down, as not going to say anything, because in those boarding schools, this is my mother. If you spoke your native language, you got beat. When you first get there, they cut your hair. Our hair is sacred to us. My hair was down here like 6 months ago, and for my own reasons, I needed to start over. And it's because of things like this. It's because I go into a classroom and I have a teacher tell me genocide isn't what happened. That's too strong a word. And then when I try, and people are saying like that's outside the time frame. That's outside the time frame of the class. No, if you're going to teach American history, genocide is part of American history. It's not Native studies. It's not ethnic studies. It's not a Native class. If you're teaching American history, you have to teach that American soldiers, American government officials backed genocide systematically, very, very much on purpose, nationwide executed millions of Native people. That was not an accident, and that's what's being taught to people, and that's what they're turning around and telling me to shut up for. But I'm lucky that my parents raised me to know the truth, that I'm lucky that I'm strong enough, that I have support, that I can do this. You know what my aunties told me? She was like, "I am so scared for you. I don't know what it's like out there right now, but 40 years ago, if you would have done something like this, you would have got your head taken off for it." But because first of all, you're brown, and because you're a woman, especially standing up to a man like that, that'd have been the end of your story, and nobody would have cared about it. And there are millions of those that we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about those people who got silenced and said, "You don't matter." And like you said, like we told to come. The other day I had thing on Twitter. This kid who's talking about why is the redskin so offensive, and he's like, well, that was 100 years ago. Why didn't you speak up then? Oh, what a great idea! You know.